What's up, guys, and welcome back for another video. In today's video, as you guys can tell by the title, I'm going to be sharing my testimony on how God blessed me with my dream car. So with that being said, let's go right ahead and get started. All right, guys, so if you have been subscribed to my channel, if you have been subscribed to my channel for a little bit, then you know that I already posted my car testimony video when God blessed my husband and I with a brand new car back in 2024. Was it 2024 or 2023? I think it might have been 2023. But nonetheless, y'all, fast forward to today, and God blessed me yet again with a brand new car. And shout out to my husband, because my husband actually purchased the car, but it's because of God I was blessed with the car. But honestly, I don't even know how to start this video off. But just to kind of give you guys a little bit background, the first car that I had was a Kia Telluride, and that was the car that God blessed my husband and I with. And then when we moved, after we purchased our home, my husband needed a work car so that he can get to and from work without putting miles on the car that we had, which was the Kia. So he ended up getting a separate car. And then we wanted to trade the Kia in for another car, because my husband told me that Kias aren't really great cars that is meant to last for a long time. So, you know, we was on the hunt for a car, and we ended up with my current car, which is a Toyota Highlander. Now, this was not my dream car. This was just the car that I got because it was kind of like a step up from the Kia. And it was kind of just the car that was available. So I ended up getting it. It did come in a red color, which I absolutely hate, y'all. Do never buy a red car. I don't care how desperate you are. Don't get a red car unless red is your favorite color. But yes, so I ended up getting this car, and I think it's only been maybe about 6 or 7 months or so since I got this car. I don't hate the car. I hate the color, but I don't hate the car. But I told my husband, like, I want to say, I don't even think a month. I think last month, actually. I told my husband last month, or it was the beginning of this month, that I needed a bigger car because the kids needed more space in the third row. And my husband was like, okay, start looking for a car. Now, I wasn't expecting him to, you know, go out and buy a brand new car right off bat. I was just telling him, you know, I'm going to need more space eventually. And I had already been complaining about the color of the car anyway, because it's so easy to get scratched, and it's just not really ideal for a mom with kids to have a very bright red color car, because kids make mistakes. They bump into the car, scratch the car. It's so much stuff, y'all. So my husband, you know, told me to look for a car. So I was looking for a car, and I came across the Grand Highlander, which is like a step up from the Highlander and is much bigger. And I was looking at the different trims. I don't really know much about cars, but I know just enough to know what I like and what I want. So I was looking at the different trims, and I came across the Grand Highlander in the limited edition. Now, I did do some research and found out, different information on both the Toyota Platinum and the Toyota Limited. But upon doing research, I found out that the Platinum version did not come with a bench seat, which is the middle seat in the second row. And I need all 8 seats, okay? So then I focused on the Limited, and I watched a ton of different videos. And long story short, I looked at multiple Toyota dealerships. Honestly, there was very limited Toyota dealerships that had the limited trim with 8 seats. Very limited. Like, I'm talking about, I literally looked at so many different Toyotas that I don't even know. I can't even count how much it was that I looked at. I even looked at ones that was in Miami. Yes. But I came across this Toyota that was in like the Atlanta area. Y'all know that I live in the country. So like I said, I was researching. I was looking at all the Toyotas that was near me. That was like 30 plus minutes from me, because there's no Toyota dealer that's like 15 or 20 minutes away. They're all like 30 plus minutes away. But the dealership that I got my current car the Highlander from, they did not have a Grand Highlander. And I did reach out to the salesman that I worked with last time, and he just never called me back, never got back with me. So we just moved on. My husband said that he's not going to wait around for somebody to answer the phone or call us back. Let's just move on and find somebody else that's willing to help us and find us what we need. So I did that. I moved on, called other dealerships. They said that they don't have any with the 8C. Then I came across this dealership in Atlanta, which is probably like an hour out from where I stay. And I called them, and they literally was the only one that had the trim that I wanted, the year that I wanted, and the, what was it? The color of the car, and they also had the 8C, the bench seat, child. I don't know why I can't figure out what I'm trying to say. So I called them. I got in contact with someone. We spoke. He said that the car was still available. I think it was in a building stage at that when I saw it on their website. It was in a building stage. They said that it should be here in I think it was going to be there in like they said it was going to be there in like 3 days or something like that. So when I spoke with the guy and I asked him, how much it's going to cost, because we do, when I spoke with the guy and asked him how much everything was going to cost, he said that, what did he say? Yeah, he quoted me the price, and it was way too high. It was way too high. I was like, no. And that was included, that price was included with this car because I am going to trade it in. But I was like, no, that's way too high. And I was like, I'm not going to, I'm not going to go in depth, trying to get a brand new car. So then I told my husband, and we both agreed that it was just way too high. And we was like, okay, we was like, I told him, maybe it's just not the time right now for me to get a new car. So I took it back to God, and I was telling God, I'm upset, but I know that everything, happens for a reason. I told God, maybe it's just not my time right now to get a brand new car, because this car is still new pretty much. It's not even a year old. But I was telling God, I'm upset, and I told God how I truly felt. I was vulnerable. I told God how I felt. I told him, I was upset because I really wanted this car, and I don't want to keep driving this car, putting miles on it, and then get less for it when I trade it in. So after I prayed and everything, I still, like, literally, after I prayed, I wasn't upset or anything like that. I just, went to bed. I was thinking about it, but I wasn't like thinking about it to the point where I was gonna like try to figure out some type of way on my own to make it happen. But I went to sleep, and I was just thinking about it, and I was just like, maybe it's just not time, So the next day I woke up. It was really, really early in the morning. It was like 5 something in the morning. The next day I woke up, I was like, you know what? Let me, instead of, trying to get the trim that I want, because I wanted the Grand Highlander in the limited. But the car that I have now is the Highlander in XLE. So I said, instead of trying to, get the trim that I really want, let me just get the same trim that I already have and see how much it'll cost me. So that's what I did in the same year, because my car right now is a 2025. So, I went back online and I looked at different dealerships and seen, to see if they had, the Grand Highlander in the XLE version with the 8 seats. And the crazy part about it is I ended up finding, there were like, I think it was like, well, no, the first dealership, which was the one I called that originally had the one that I had the car that I wanted, but it was way too high. I actually found they actually had the car that I wanted in the 2025 Grand Highlander XLE. And I was actually going to buy it because my husband had already got approved for a loan. We had already got approved for a loan. So when I contacted the guy, I was like, okay, you know what? I told him, we're going to go with this car. Now, at that point, I was still getting the car that I wanted, but I wasn't getting the trim. So I was pretty much settling. But I was okay. I was content with it because I was like, I don't think it's worth, being upset and moping around for a car that's way too much. Even I know that it was way too much. So I was texting back when this was over the weekend. So I was texting with the guy and I was telling him, yeah, we're going to take the Grand Highlander. We're going to take the Grand Highlander XLE. And I told him to give me an outdoor price. So he gave me an outdoor price, and it was probably, I want to say maybe 10 grand less than what we were going to be paying for the limited version. Excuse me, y'all. So when I was texting him and I told him, I'm going to take the car, he texted me back and he was like, oh, since this was a brand new car, something like that, I can only finance through them. Mind you, I already am financing my current vehicle with, Toyota, because the salesman that sold me this car, he was able to get us a really low interest rate as well as a low monthly payment. But my husband we had already got outdoor financing, because it's one thing about Toyota is it's not good to finance through and do in-house financing, because they don't really, it's a whole long story, but I'm not gonna get into that. But we was like, no, we said we were not financed through them. So I texted him back. I said, no, I said, if I can't finance with my own financing, then I don't want the car. He never texted me back. So I want to say maybe the next day, I was like, I'm not going to sit around and wait for a car salesman I'm not going to sit around and wait on this car salesman when I'm paying money for the car, and I should be able to pay for it in the manner that I choose. So I moved on, and I found, went hunting again. I found a couple of more dealerships that had the same car that I wanted, not the trim that I wanted, but the one that I was going to settle for, which was the XLE. I called them, and I called and asked everybody all of their outdoor prices, got some good prices. I ended up finding a XLE in all black. It was leather seats, the same colors, the same leather seats I have now, and it was all black on the outside, and it was actually a hybrid. It was the XLE version, and it was the 2025, brand new. So I was gonna get that car. I had asked the guy for his outdoor price. I asked him if he can match the price of the other dealership, and he was actually able to give me he was actually able to sell me the car, I want to say maybe 5 to 6 grand lower than what the other dealership quoted me that wanted me to do in-house financing. And I was gonna actually go with him. He sent me the paperwork to give to our financing company, and but the crazy thing about it is that let me just say that God is, like I said, God is a God with no limits. And one thing about God is he gonna give you your heart's desire. He's gonna give you exactly what you ask for. If it's in his will for you to have whatever it is you're asking for, he's gonna give you exactly that. So the crazy thing is, before I closed the deal and everything with the dealership that I was gonna get the car from, I had got a call from another car dealership, and I was asking her if she had the XLE and whatnot. She said they do, but it was in white and it had gray interior seats. And I was like, I'm not a fan of white, and I don't know if it's good to get like gray seats, knowing that kids mess up seats and things like that. So I was asking her, are they easy to clean? She was like, yes, they're easy to clean, which I do believe they're easy to clean, but you always want to be safe than sorry. So I didn't end up getting the car with her, but I did inquire about the limited version, because my husband had called me. He was like, well, which car do you really want? And I was telling him, I want the limited version, but it costs way too much. And we both agreed that we didn't want to pay more than a Pacific Mount that we had got through our finance company. So he was like, well, see if they have it. And I was like, they do, but they don't, they do, but it's going to be well over the amount that we, got approved for our pre-approval amount that we got approved for. We actually got approved way more than what we actually submitted for. So we ended up going with the higher amount, but we didn't intend on paying, actually using that said amount. So I ended up contacting the dealership that I spoke with about the XLE, which is the one that I was settling for, but that I did not, really, really want. And I was asking her about the actual one that I wanted, the limited version. I hope you guys are keeping up, because I know it may be sounding all over the place. So she told me that they did not have any limited versions, trims, with the bench seat, but she did say that she can find me one at another car dealership. And she told me that they have 5 available within like a 300 mile radius. and she sent me a document with the price and everything of how much it's going to be. Now, mind you, the dealership that told me that I can only do in-house financing, the price that they quoted me for the car that I actually wanted was like a few $1,000s less than what the previous dealership quoted me that wanted me to do in-house financing. And when she sent me that, I was like, oh my goodness, are you serious? Like, no freaking way, because I literally was about to pay 10,000 plus more for this car, and she's gonna give it to me for 10,000 less. So I spoke with my husband. I was telling him, yeah, you know, she quoted me this price. Should I go ahead and, you know, have her look for the car for me instead of getting the one that I didn't want? And he was like, yeah, but mind you, you know, before I actually, you know, closed the deal with her, you know, I had asked her, you know, is this the actual price? Like, is this the exact price that I'm going to be paying for the car? And she was like, if I find the exact car with all the specs and everything that I sent you, then yes, it'll be that price. And I was like, you know, in my mind, I'm like, I don't like that. You know, I need to be 100% sure, because I'm not fit to pay well above what I, originally want to pay for a car. So before I, you know, closed the deal with her, and before I contacted the other dealership and let them know that I wasn't going to take the car, I got another phone call, because mind you, I told you guys I've been calling multiple car dealerships, and I had also been submitting inquiries online if they had the car that I wanted. So I got a call from a car dealership that's probably like an hour and 30 plus minutes from my house. And it was this one. No, I take that back. I didn't speak to the woman. I actually spoke to this guy, and he had an accent. And mind you, it kind of took me back a bit, because it was everybody else that I had been talking to, you know, they had, you know, English accents, and he kind of had, you know, different accents. So I was a little, you know, sketchy. But come to find out, he wasn't sketchy. It was the actual Toyota dealership. So he was telling me, you spoke with one of these sales associates, and you acquired about, you know, said car. And I was telling him, you know what? I was telling him, do you have this exact car with this exact trim? I said, do you have a 2026 Toyota Grand Highlander in limited version with the bench seat? Because when I checked their website, it did show that they had it. And that's the car that I inquired about originally, but I changed my mind because it was too much based off the price that the previous car dealership told me that wanted me to do in-house financing. And I was like, I told him I got a quote, I got a price from another car dealership for this such and such car, the car that I wanted. And I was like, can you match their price? And he was telling me he was basically going over all the different cars that he had that I wanted. And I was asking him, well, do they have an 8 seat? Do they have 8 seats? And he was like, oh no, this one don't. And he was like, oh no, this one don't. But the one that I wanted, it was a blue 2026 Toyota Highlander, and it had 8 seats. It was leather seats. It had the panoramic roof, however you say that, panoramic roof. It had the 360 bird's eye view. It had the JBL speakers, and etc., etc. But those are like the main features that I really wanted. And he was like, oh yeah, we got that car available. I was like, okay, can you match this price? She quoted me such and such price. What can you give me for this car? And he was like, oh, I can give it to you for said price. So he was able to give it to me, I want to say maybe, I think roughly about $2,000, $2 to $3,000, or maybe around $2,000. I know it was like $2,000 something less than what she quoted me for. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And he was like, okay, you have to put, since the car, because the car was still in building stage, he said it's 16 days out. And I was like, I can wait. And I was like, I already got finance. I let him know straight up, I already got finance, because I was not fit to go through all the hassle of trying to get, making them forced me to finance through him. I was like, I already got financing. And he was like, oh, perfect. And he was like, you have to put he said that you have to put a down payment to hold the car. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And he said he gonna have his sales associate send all the paperwork over. He was gonna write up the contract with the price that I was gonna pay for, as well as with the trade-in for the car that I already have. And I was like, okay, cool. So I waited for the email. I called, but before I got the email and paid everything, I called my husband. I was like, babe, I got the car that I wanted, and I got it way less than what the other guys was telling me that I was going to pay for. And I was literally jumping for joy. But let me tell you how good God is, because the one thing about God, he's not going to let you settle. So mind you, I told y'all I had already prayed to God, and I told God, I was upset because I really wanted that car, etc., etc. And I told God, you know what, maybe it's just not the right time for me to get a brand new car right now, because I just got a brand new car. So, I was like, I'm not going to worry about it, but I know I needed more space. So I was like, okay, I'll just settle for the trim that I didn't want, which was the XLE, but I'll still get the space. And I kid you not, I was content. I was happy because I'm still getting the car that I want. I'm just not getting it in the trim that I wanted. So I was still very happy and grateful to be able to just get a bigger car. And God was like, no ma'am, no ma'am. God, oh my goodness, this is why I will never stop saying God is so good, because God is so good. God is an unlimited God. But God saw how grateful I was for the car that I didn't want, and he saw how I was willing, to sacrifice what I really wanted just to get a bigger car. And when I tell you, God said, you know what? I see what I see your heart posture. I see your heart is in the right place. You deserve this car. So I'm going to give you this car. Now, mind you, before I got the price for the car and everything, I had went on YouTube and did some research about, how to get a good price for the car at a car dealership, because they be putting extra stuff on there. And the first dealership that I spoke with that had the car that I wanted, they had like two different things on the quote they sent me that I did not like, that was just like optional and I did not have to pay for it. And I told them to take that off. Like, I don't need that. It was like some GPS tracking thing, and then it was something else, and I was like, sir, I don't need that. Take it off. And it brought the price down. Not a lot, but it brought it down. I would rather not have to pay for it than to pay for it, if that makes sense. So after I told the guy, to take those extra things off, it did bring the price down. But, I didn't go with them anyway, because they was it felt like they was on some scamming stuff, trying to force me to do in-house finance and all that extra stuff. So, when I was calling around to the different dealerships, I was asking for outdoor pricing, because when I watched the videos, they was like, ask them for an outdoor price. Because when you don't tell them, when you give them how much you're willing to pay and how much you like, they were basically saying, like, when you don't know what it is that you want to pay, how much you want to pay every month, how much you want to pay for the car overall, they will try to, get you to pay more than what you should, or get you to or try to convince you to get another car that's more than what's the car that you want. And just a whole bunch of stuff. So I was like, you know what, let me try this. And mind you, I had also went on Reddit, and I saw this thread on Reddit where the guy said that he got different outdoor prices from different car dealerships, and then the lowest price he got, he sent it to all the other dealerships, and he let them fight over the price. And I was like, you know what, that sounds like a good deal. So that's what I did. I literally called the car dealerships, and I asked all of them for outdoor pricing, and then whichever one had the highest price, I would send it to the next car dealership, and I was like, can you match this price? And then they came back and matched it at a lower price, and then I did the same thing. So when I tell you God is a timely God is a timely God, because mind you, it hadn't even been like, after I prayed and told God, I was upset about not being able to get the car, I kid you not, it was only like a day or two that passed, and I was getting the car that I really wanted. And I had to go back in my closet and pray and tell God, thank you, because I literally thought maybe this was just not the right time for me to get a car. And God said, no ma'am, this is the time for you to get the car that you wanted. And mind you, I didn't even mention this because I almost forgot y'all, but mind you, when me and my husband was first looking for a car back in 2023, I had a dream that me, my husband, and our kids was at a car dealership, and we was looking at a car, but I couldn't see what the exact car that it was, but I did see the color. It was like a blue color. And we was just all at the car dealership, and I was, we was, getting in the car, looking at the car, and it was this salesman, but he was bald. The salesman was bald. Now, I don't think the salesman that I'm working with is actually a woman, but I always kept this dream in the back of my mind, because I'm like, I know for a fact that this dream gotta come true someday. Now, I don't think that the dream was for when we got the previous car and this car, But I definitely think this dream is exactly for this time around when I'm actually getting the car that I want, because I kid you not, I'm literally the car that I want. The car that I found is literally the color that I want. It's in the blue color. It's in the trim that I want. It's in the amount of seats that I need. It has all of the features that I want. Literally, when I tell you it has everything that I wanted, it has everything that I wanted. And I know for a fact that that was all God's doing, because when I tell you I could not find this car, like no car dealership had this car in the trim that I wanted with 8 seats. I got so many no's that I thought it was going to be literally, it was just going to be impossible to get a car. And I also took that as a sign, like maybe God's saying it's just not time, you know, because I literally only found one car, and that was at that dealership that was trying to scam me into doing in-house financing. And I could not find that car anywhere else in the trim that I wanted. I found the car in a different trim, but it was like the one that I didn't want. And all the dealerships that I spoke with, they was like, you know, they don't really make this trim with 8 seats. It's very rare to find a car, to find the exact trim that I wanted, the limited trim with 8 seats. And I was like, okay, well, why is that? Because why would you make a SUV with 8 seats but only make it available with only 7? Because all the SUVs that I saw, the Grand Highlander, they all had set captain chairs. I'm just like, why would you buy an SUV if you just gonna get the same amount of seats that you can get in a regular SUV? Like, I didn't get it. So no, to fast forward, when I got the car, when I spoke with the other dealership and they had the car that I wanted, but it was 16 days out, I just knew for a fact that that was God. And I was just like, thank you, like, what? Like, come on now, God, come on. But I wanted to share this testimony because I just wanted to show you guys how good God is. Like, literally, I kid you not, I was literally going to settle. Like, I was this, like, before the guy called, mind you, before I closed the deal with the car dealership that had the car that in the trim that I didn't want, I literally got that phone call from that car dealership that had the car, the exact make, model, everything that I wanted. Like, literally, it was probably like, and I keep saying literally, sorry guys, but it was probably like, I think it was like not even 5 minutes after I sent the text and told the guy that, and I sent the text and told the guy I want the car. It wasn't even 5 minutes when I got the phone call letting me know. Well, I want to say, yeah, probably about 5 minutes probably had passed. And I got the phone call and I was like, no freaking way. Like, I knew for a fact that that was God, because I literally was that close to closing the deal and getting the car. And God didn't let that happen. That's why God tells us to wait on him and to trust in him, because God will never lead us astray. Like, God timing is perfect. Like, when I say perfect, it literally is perfect. Like, there's no better time. Like, nobody has no better time than God. But I wanted to share this testimony because I just wanted to show you guys what it's like to have God's favor over your life. And a lot of people, you know, assume that because they don't get that God doesn't, you know, bless them in a timing that they think that they're not going to get the blessing. But that's not at all true. Sometimes God makes you wait because there's something bigger that he has for you. Or sometimes God makes you wait because it's just not time yet. And I believe that God was testing me in those moments. Because I feel like had I moped around and was angry and was blaming everybody about me not getting that car, I honestly feel like God wouldn't have given me the car, because I wouldn't have been in a state of gratitude. You know, I wouldn't have had faith, because I'm complaining that I'm not getting the car, and God doesn't, you know, operate out of disobedience. God doesn't operate in dysfunction and anger. But instead of me, you know, getting angry, you know, I came up with another solution that would still give me the car that I wanted, just not in the trim. And God saw my heart posture, and God saw that I was very grateful to be able to get a car, just not in the make that I wanted. And God was like, you know what? I'm not gonna let you settle. Yeah. This is why it's so important to stay in the presence of God. You know, even if you don't get what you want right then and there, don't be upset, don't be angry. No, let me take that back. Be angry, but don't sit in that anger. You know, be angry but for a moment, but don't allow it to, you know, fester and build up to something worse. And that's what I did. You know, I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna take defeat. I'm gonna just figure something else out, you know. And that's what I did. And then God turned it all around for my good and actually gave me the car that I really wanted. And I'm just so grateful, y'all, because this is literally like an answered prayer. And I say my dream car, not because, you know, I've always wanted this car, but the reason why I call it my dream car is because it's the exact car that I asked for. The color, the features, the trim, the year, like this is the exact car that I wanted right now. You know, I'm not saying that I want this car forever, but I'm saying that this is the car that I wanted right now. And that's the exact car that God gave me. And y'all can't tell me my God ain't good. Like, God is good. Jesus is good. Like, but nonetheless, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all see the car. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already, go ahead and click that subscribe button and drop a comment. Let me know what is an answered prayer that God has answered for you. And let's chat in the comments and talk about how God is good. God is great, okay? No better God. Like, well, there ain't no other God, okay? But nonetheless, thank y'all for watching. Bye.